All right, let's just get right into it. We're constantly hearing about how technology is affecting students, but what's the real story? It seems like every single day there's a new headline, a new warning, or a new promise. And yeah, this is the big one. It's the question that seems to be on everybody's mind, from parents and teachers to students themselves. Are our devices actually the enemy? Are they ruining our ability to learn? Or could they be powerful new tools? I mean, we're surrounded by these totally conflicting ideas. On one hand, you get these dramatic headlines screaming about a distraction crisis. But then on the other, you hear all this optimistic talk about a digital revolution. It makes it incredibly hard to know what to even think. So, to get past all that noise, we need to understand how researchers actually investigate these things. This isn't about guesswork or hot takes. It's about measurement. And for that, you need a very specific set of tools. So how in the world do you measure something you can't see, like anxiety or prejudice? You can't just, look at someone and get a number. Well, researchers built a very specific kind of test called a psychological scale. Think of it like a ruler, but for the mind. It's designed to turn these abstract feelings and thoughts into concrete, measurable data. And what's so fascinating is just the sheer variety of things we can measure this way. Researchers from all over compile and publish these scales, creating this incredible shared library of tools. It means science can keep building on itself instead of starting from scratch every time. And just look at some of these examples. I mean, wow. We're not talking about broad, generic surveys here. These are highly specific, fine-tuned instruments. They're designed to understand really particular slices of the human experience, from body image issues to something as specific as maternal separation anxiety. Okay, but just because a test exists doesn't mean it's any good, right? To be scientifically useful, it has to be a great one. And there are some pretty strict rules to make sure these tools are actually trustworthy. It really boils down to two crucial concepts: reliability and validity. And nope, they're not the same thing. Think of it this way. Reliability is about consistency. Does a scale give you the same result every time? Validity is about accuracy. Is it measuring the right thing? You could have a scale that reliably tells you you're 7 feet tall every single day. It's reliable, for sure, but it's not valid. You absolutely have to have both. And creating a valid scale is this really rigorous, multi-step process. You don't just whip up some questions. It starts with solid theory. Then it gets reviewed by a panel of experts. Then it's tested in a small pilot study. And only then does it get put through some serious statistical analysis. It's a ton of work, but it's how you make sure the results are actually meaningful. And underneath all of this, holding it all together, is the single most important rule: ethics. This principle here says it all. The people in the study must give free consent, and their data, well, it's for research. It cannot be used for commercial reasons. That is the absolute foundation of trustworthy science. Okay, so now that we have these trusted tools, what have investigators actually found about screens and students? Well, some of the results might just surprise you. So, what's the verdict from the data? Well, a huge analysis of many studies does confirm a connection. When smartphone use becomes problematic, as the researchers call it, grades do tend to suffer. Now, the effect is small, but it shows up again and again across the board. But here's the twist. It is not a simple case of more screens are worse. Get this, a massive study of over 20,000 students found that a moderate amount of screen time, like up to 2 hours a day, was actually associated with slightly higher math scores compared to students who had no screen time at all. So this suggests the relationship isn't just a straight line going down. Moderation appears to be key. And that really forces us to ask a much bigger question. What else is going on in a student's life? Because clearly, it's not just about the phone. And we have to remember, students are dealing with so much more than just their screens. I mean, take a look at this. It's from a study of university students, and for so many of them, a huge chunk of their day is just their commute. We're talking long, tiring trips on public transport. That's a major factor in their daily stress levels. And on top of that, if we look at data from recent years, we see this immense emotional toll students are under. Nearly 60% of high schoolers reported being emotionally affected by pandemic lockdowns. And almost 1 in 5, experienced some form of violence at home. These are incredibly powerful factors that influence a person's well-being and their ability to learn. And this is where the story gets even more complex. You start to see these trade-offs. For example, one study found that higher tablet use was linked to better sustained attention. Great, right? But it also came at a pretty big cost: poor sleep quality. And that connection to sleep, that might be everything. It suggests the problem isn't just the screen itself, but the domino effect it creates. Because, as we all know, not getting enough sleep is strongly linked to having attention problems and making more mistakes. The screen might just be the first domino in a much longer chain. Okay, so after wading through all this evidence, what's the real takeaway here? What should we actually be focusing on when we move past the headlines? The biggest takeaway is that there are no simple, easy answers. The reality is far more nuanced than screens are good or screens are bad. Context is everything. What's the screen being used for? How long? And what's going on in that student's life? Moderation seems to be huge, but maybe the most important factors, sleep, mental health, stress, are the things we should be paying the most attention to. Ultimately, we have these incredible tools to measure and understand our world in more detail than ever before. But the real question is this one. We're getting better at measuring our problems, for sure, but are we getting any wiser about actually solving them? Can we use all this complex detail to move beyond the scary headlines and make truly better choices for our students and for ourselves?